Hello, Dan. Thank you for being here. My name is Alfonso. On behalf of Retumba, a Mexican blog and YouTube channel about extreme music, we like to dedicate our time to discuss and just basically talk about it. We are a bunch of enthusiasts, not professionals, and this time I am excited for the opportunity to spend some time talking to you about your work. I know that you have a recent release, the debut album of a new project called Dreamless Veil. How are you today?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Just, the weather is not so good over here, but
Sucks.
but as the hotness of the summer vanishes, I'm hoping for the winter time,
Yeah, same here.
cold
Same.
times.
Yeah, I'm not a summer fan.
Well, to open up the conversation, one thing that resonated with me in the press release about Dreamless Veil is the that this project is was born sort of out of it was just a sort of circumstantial because of the situation at the time. And
Mhm.
one question in my mind is about how many shows you use to play it before the pandemic,
Oh,
like over the course of a year.
well, when I was playing with Revocation, it would be quite a bit. Like it definitely, we've played 100 shows a year numerous times. That was kind of it was like my job basically was to go on tour with them, and we did okay. It wasn't like I was coming home buying cars or anything like that, but I could pay rent. So that was cool. A lot of shows. And then I would also play shows with Artificial Brain, not nearly as much, but I was very busy there too. um and then everything just stopped and during the pandemic. We actually played a show in Hawaii on our way home from Japan, like literally days before, COVID hit. So that was a scary time for us. I actually ended up just getting, jobs in the meantime, and I stuck with them. I'm still doing them today because I no longer make my money from touring,
Right.
which honestly feels kind of freeing. I feel like now my relationship with music is more like I can just do whatever I want and it's not attached to money in any way. Uh, I have my own jobs and my bills are taken care of by that. And then when I play music, I can do whatever I want. I'm not thinking about whether or not it's going to be successful or popular. I just do what I want. So I'm actually happier now, not making as much money from music.
Nice, but you did have to make some adjustments, right? In your way of
Yeah,
thinking, your way you approach life as a whole.
yeah, definitely. Over the past 5 years, I've been kind of adjusting to a different routine. Um, and touring is chaotic because you're in a different place every day, but it is very much a routine. Like we would always wake up early, we would drive for X amount of hours, and then when we got to the venue, we did the same thing each day. So that was one of the things I loved about touring is actually the repetition. And now in life, I work a normal schedule and I like that repetition. It just like I feel it frees me up during my free time. I can be creative because I know I've completed my responsibilities for the day.
Right.
And yeah, I've actually been writing more music since I've had this routine. So I think it's good for me personally.
So Dreamless Veil was born in the same year, 2020 or 2021?
No, actually, I had that album written earlier than the pandemic,
Oh,
but I
I see.
didn't do anything with it. It was just I had the songs, I programmed the drums, and I intended for it to be a one-man project. Like, a lot of my favorite bands are one-man projects like Leviathan or Xasther or something, and it's not like
Oh,
that extreme of type of
com
black metal, but you know,
convulsive,
I,
maybe one
yeah,
of those.
convulsing. Yeah, Brendan. We actually toured with Alters recently, and I hung out with him a bit on that tour. It was great. Um, but yeah, I wanted that to be what it was, but when I started writing lyrics, that's something I've never done, and I've never really been like a literature minded individual. I'm kind of more into like, music composition. It's a different skill. And when I was writing lyrics, I was like, this is bad. I can't put this out. So I talked to my roommate Mike, who is very into writing lyrics and he's very into black metal. And I don't know, we just had a good rapport with one another. We worked together very well. So it worked out.
Nice. Yeah, I was also surprised to know that you used to be roomies. Like,
Yeah, we lived together for like 3 years with Brett from Revocation.
mm,
And then Mike and I, after Brett had his wife move in, we moved to the city. We were living like outside the city, and then we moved to the city. And we're not roommates anymore, but we live near each other. So we hang out all the time, have band practice all the time.
and how much did it shift the approach when it was a solo project and then it became a band or a duo sort of project?
Well, actually, I was on tour with Revocation and Psychroptic in the States, and I think it was Revocation, Voivod, Psychroptic, and I want to say Skeletal Remains, but
Oh.
my memory is horrible. So I don't know if that was the exact lineup. But yeah, Dave Haley and we have toured together a bunch of times and we would talk about black metal a lot. And I know he's a huge fan. And he asked me if we could do a side project together. And I was like, actually, I have something written, so I'll send it to you and see what you think. And he
Okay.
sent me back very professional sounding drums that Joe Haley had recorded in his studio. So that was really exciting. I mean, I was happy with the work that I did with the program drums, but what Dave played is way better and sounds way better because it's a real drum set. Um, so that worked out very well too. It just kind of came together easy. It was just these people are people I was friends with, and I like what they do. I like their work, and it worked out.
Like no extra pressure.
No pressure, no. Yeah, we don't have like any financial aspirations or dreams of being a big popular band. It's just we want to make a good album.
And when you get rid of those sort of expectations, does it make room for more liberty when composing, when writing your own music?
Yeah, actually, I I have like kind of been influenced by black metal when I wrote for Revocation and Artificial Brain, but I never had a project where I could fully delve into that sound. But I would always write black metal songs just on my own, and they weren't for any band. And eventually I was like, I write so much of this stuff, I should probably like actually try to do it. But yeah, it feels like I kind of got that sound out of my system, and now I can write other stuff. But I'm constantly going through writing phases and bouncing from one thing to the next. And I don't know, I just allow myself to go through them because I think it's healthy as a writer
Hmm.
to go through phases and be excited about something. And, even though they are phases, it is all stuff that I'm writing. So it's like my style of whatever I'm into at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think
Um,
that helps you develop a sound.
I just want to mention at the time when we all knew about Dreamless Veil that the project was made public.
Mhm.
Just to see the lineup, the vocalist of Interarma and this amazing drummer. By the way, I speak with him like 2 years ago. Well,
Oh, cool.
yeah. And one thing that stuck in my mind is about how like his discipline. He's very like um he's has like a big compromise to his own craft, right?
Hmm.
And he mentioned something about he is like getting older, although he's not an older person,
Hmm.
but how over time or with time, he just wants to play music that he's excited to play, that it's not his time to be like innovative, experimental, etc. And
Hmm.
when I knew that, members of a band like Inter Arma and of course you from Artificial Brain, which is big in experimentation, I was very surprised, and
Hmm.
I received like a positive surprise in listening to this record. You know how he like the music is highly extreme, your own style of playing, but like he seems like he's on top of that, you know, like one
Yeah,
step ahead. And
yeah,
that was
yeah,
surprising actually.
yeah. I love what Dave played on this record, and yeah, he's very disciplined. I mean, you don't really see too many older guys playing death metal as well as Dave does. Like you'll see a lot with like death metal bands that are getting older, they'll have a young guy playing drums.
Right.
And but Psychroptic is all Dave, and he's still really on top of it. And I don't know, it's really an honor to have worked with him on this record because I was a huge Psychroptic fan when Scepter of the Ancients was the only album I knew by them. And I was in high school listening to that all the time. So
Right.
playing on a record with Dave is like teenage me would be so happy to hear that. Um, but yeah, he really is on top of it. I feel like the drumming on that record is kind of more the centerpiece than I expected it to be.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. I mean, the music is good, it's great, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Thank you.
But I was actually very surprised to hear his style of playing, like be on top of everything. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you used to play for Revocation, with this
Yep.
more associated with thrash metal, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah,
But Artificial Brain is kind of more heavily associated into death metal, and now
yeah.
Dreamless could be the one of your projects that is associated to black metal, right?
Yeah, actually, I do have a second black metal project called Ortolan. We haven't made a full album yet, but we have an EP out on my friend Paulo's record label called P2. He plays in the band Miasmatic Necrosis, and he's a good friend of mine. And I will make a full length with that lineup as well. It's a bit different from Dreamless Veil. It's a little more raw and less melodic. It still has melodic parts, but it's a little more like furious and nasty. Um, but yeah, that will be another black metal project. Yeah, I think I enjoy playing black metal more than other styles of metal. Something about it just appeals to me more, even down to the physical guitar playing. It feels very natural for me to play and write in that style. And I think with Revocation, as time went on, I started to fall out of like that type of metal. Like I haven't really listened to much technical death metal in the past 10 or so years. I mean, I still love Spawn of Possession, but that's kind of it. Um, I think as I got older, I gravitated towards black metal, and I hope to continue playing it forever. But
Nice.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna be making black metal from now on,
And let's
in addition to other stuff.
nice. Let's go back to the part where Dreamless was came to life, like in
Mhm.
time during the pandemic.
Yep.
Um, I'm I'm assuming that this also was a period of time in which you had have to um make change in your life decisions. Like, okay, I'm a musician. Should keep doing this? You know, when
Yeah.
these sort of times are happening over the world.
Hmm.
But did it also like reinforced your motivation or your passion for extreme music?
Yeah, I think so. During COVID times, Mike and I would drink a lot and just go on YouTube and listen to metal. So I actually, during that time period, I was listening to a lot of metal, and he was showing me bands I hadn't heard. I was showing him bands he hadn't heard because he knows like every band. And yeah, it did rejuvenate my love for extreme music. Not that I ever didn't love it, but I was really into it at the time. And when I wrote this record, I was like very excited about it. And yeah, yeah. I think that during that time it did my relationship with music evolved.
Nice. So you're an evolved musician now.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's inevitable if you keep doing something. That's just gonna happen.
And as your as you grow older and evolved as a musician,
Mhm,
how do you keep like tabs? For example, Artificial Brain has been present for like more than 10 years already,
mhm,
you know,
mhm.
3 records.
Yep.
And you mentioned that at the time, like you were heavily into Technical Death, right? But
Yeah, yeah. It
when
was
you
never my favorite, but I listened to it
right,
more back then.
right, when you sort of brand your music, that even
Mhm,
though it's like in a wide spectrum of experimentation, and you
mhm.
evolved as a musician, is it hard for you to like maintain that brand? For example, for you nowadays, are you writing music for Artificial Brain?
Yeah, yeah. We have another record that we're gonna make early next year, I think. Um, I mean, I have tons of songs written for that band, but the challenge is like going through them all and deciding which ones we want to keep. Because my style of writing is I'll write many, many, many songs, and a lot of them just never get released because they're not that good. But we'll pick the good ones, you know. And right now, Artificial Brain is rehearsing weekly, and we're writing songs and kind of like honing the songs that we have written. So hopefully we'll be recording in January, maybe February. But
And
I'm very excited for that. And yeah, I will always be writing for Artificial Brain. Like even if I have other projects, I'll probably just be writing for all of them just because that's what I like to do.
are you trying new ideas, new approaches this time?
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. We'll be talking about the songs in the practice space, and like I'll ask Sam what he thinks, and he has big ideas sometimes, but that is part of the band's sound, and I think that's one of the things that keeps Artificial Brain sounding different than my other projects is who's in the project, you know? Because even though I'm the one writing the riffs, like my bandmates do have thoughts and opinions, and I'll listen to them. We don't always agree, but I'll definitely hear what they have to say. Um, but it is hard to maintain the sound, I guess, because when I wrote like our first album, Labyrinth Constellation, that was so long ago. I was a different person back then. You know, I was into different things. I had different life experience, not as much life experience. So I don't think I could ever write that album again. So the way I just see it is I'm just writing the current iteration of whatever band I'm in.
Mm.
So yeah, our fourth album will sound a little different just because we're older now and we write a little differently, but it's still very much Artificial Brain. Like, I mean, I don't know how much I can say about it yet because it's still an album in the works, but I mean, I think when people hear the first song, they'll be like, okay, it's still Artificial Brain, you know.
But a new element in this equation is Mike, right? The new vocalist.
Yeah. And our drummer, Alex.
Oh,
We've known him for a long time, but Keith, our original drummer, he actually lives overseas now. So we did the third album with him remotely. He recorded in Denmark. And now we have a drummer who lives very near us. So most of the band has relocated here and you know, we get together weekly and so yeah, it's a new lineup mostly. Still me and Oleg and John and Sam, but we have a new vocalist and we have a new drummer. So it's I think some people will probably not like that we have a new lineup, and some people will. And you never know who's gonna like it, who won't. And there's nothing we can do about it. I'm excited because I think Alex is a really great drummer and a really great musician overall. So he kind of it's a bit different with him. You know, no hate to Keith. I love the way he plays, and we had a great working relationship. But I'm excited to show people what Tomlin can do, and I know Mike's going to do a great job because Dreamless Veil is not actually the only thing I've done with Mike. We made another album with some friends that is not out yet, but it's like
I see.
sort of grind, kind of. Um, but Mike's performance on that record when I was mixing it, I was like, damn, this guy's sick. And that made me want to work with him in Artificial Brain. So I'm very confident that Mike is going to do a great job. The only thing is like some people just want to hear the same thing and they're going to be upset that it's a different vocalist. I'm just mentally prepared for that and I kind of just don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Steve Tucker era Morbid Angel. I love Corpse Grinder era Cannibal Corpse. I mean, this sort of thing happens. It's fine.
Um, well, at the time, 2013, when the first record came out,
Hmm.
I okay, I was also younger, still an enthusiast of stream music, but I
Hmm.
think that year in itself kind of broadened my horizon when it comes to my enjoyment of,
Hmm.
of the music. And Artificial Brain was definitely like, one of those bands, that heavily changed my shift, my
Oh, thank you.
my taste in music. And the third record that came out like 2 years ago already,
Hmm.
I that is my favorite.
Oh,
And
thank you.
that is not to say that the previous are lesser, but
Right, right,
but
of course.
I think the way I perceive it is Artificial Brain like discovered colors, sentiments.
Yeah, I think there is more like emotional content on
Yeah,
that record. Um, yeah, the first record was kind of more fast. I mean, we're still fast. I don't know. It's really hard to say because when I write songs, I'm totally biased and I can't like really look at them objectively like the way an outside source can. But well, I'm glad you said that because I have faith in the third record. I mean, I think it's our best one yet, and
yep.
I think our newest one is the best one yet. But of course, I think that I'm the one writing them, you know.
But
So
but I think like that's the way to go because you don't. I mean, what's the point of making a new album if you don't think
yeah,
that is your best one, right?
exactly. Like I think at this point, I mean, I could do whatever I want. I have so many projects. If I felt like I had nothing to say with Artificial Brain and we were just like writing for no reason, I don't know if I'd want to do it. But it's still fun for me and it's still like, fulfilling to write music and play with my friends. Um, that's like the greatest joy of being a musician for me is like actually creating music and recording music. Um, I think most people like playing shows the most, but to me, that's just like a necessity more than something I want to do. Like I'll always be writing forever, but if I never play a show again, I don't care. You know?
And do you write like this may sound cheesy, but like is it a therapy for you? I mean, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be like a full song, but I enjoy just
Oh
the
yeah,
practice.
absolutely. Definitely. I mean, I will write multiple times a week, and it's like yeah, it's a very therapeutic thing. Like I can kind of like shut out the world and just focus on music, and that's a healthy way of venting negative feelings or bad emotions. And I don't know, I noticed that if I'm not playing guitar or not playing music for a while, I'll start to feel crappy and I'll want to play again. But if I'm not writing, I'm usually listening to music, and if I hear something cool, I'll like press pause and get my guitar and try to learn something, even if it's just a short snippet of a song. I think I'm always wanting to do that exercise.
I want to mention something that I noticed in your multiple projects.
Hmm.
You already mentioned that you have another project like Sort of Grind, but that part
Mm,
sort of, I
yeah,
mean, this is sort of black metal,
yeah,
Artificial Brain is sort of death metal.
right.
What
I think that
what is it
that's fair.
about? What is it about not genre metal or music that appeals to you?
Um, I don't know. I think that I'm not necessarily thinking like, well, if this is going to be black metal, I can't do X, Y, or Z. Like kind of just I just let whatever happen. I think with Artificial Brain, it's like most people call us death metal. I think because of Will's vocals, they're obviously very brutal death metal vocals, but I think a lot of our first album, especially, is like kind of like death metal but meeting with black metal in some way. Like
Yeah.
Deathspell Omega is big at that time for all of us. Um, I don't know. I think maybe the fact that mixing genres allows you to explore some sounds that are not so explored. I mean, like sometimes I'll think like, well, maybe I should write a really brutal, heavy song for Artificial Brain. But then I think like every band does that. I should just do whatever I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to necessarily compete with other bands,
Do you
you
like
know?
Blood Incantation?
Yeah, I do.
Have you heard the new stuff?
I haven't listened to the new one that much, but I listened to they have a 20-minute video for Stargate, and that was really cool. There were some Pink Floyd moments on there. I love how into synths they are. I mean, I like synthesizers too. I'm not as much of a brainiac as Paul is, but yeah, I like that band a lot. And we did tour with them years ago with Demolich,
Mm,
and that was before they were huge, but they were very popular. And I think on that tour, I saw how much people like them. And I'm really excited for those guys. They're doing great.
yeah, yeah. I think this record is gonna pop up in audience big time. You
Oh,
know,
for sure.
actually, a brand new audience. I don't know if that's correct way of phrasing it.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people who aren't necessarily into death metal would like that band.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have some comments because I asked the fans about. I mentioned that I was gonna talk with you,
Hmm.
and they sent a bunch of comments about the artificial brain.
Okay.
Is it okay if I read it to you and you can
Yeah,
comment
yeah.
on that?
Of course. Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Well, Emiliano mentions this can be a bit silly as a question, but will you have a new album? And is it more experimental and why?
We are going to experiment a little bit. I mean, I think if we don't experiment, it wouldn't be fun. But
Right.
I've been experimenting with like more layers. I don't know if people really know this about us, but when I was playing in Revocation, I was so busy with those guys that Artificial Brain would have to wait for me basically to finish touring. So that's why we got Oleg in the band to like kind of fill in for me and they could play shows while I was away. But now that I'm not on Revocation anymore, we have Oleg on guitar, John on guitar, and me on guitar. So we're like, what do we do? Like, we're not just gonna like kick someone out for no reason. So I've been experimenting with writing more third guitar parts. Um, I've been experimenting with writing like synth lines over our stuff. Nothing
Nice.
like insane, but just like, chords over what we're playing on guitar. One thing that we're gonna do on this record that we haven't done before is solos. I have a bunch of solos written and they're like fast and I never played lead guitar in Artificial Brain. I have two solos. One is on one of our demos and then one is on Infrared Horizon, the title track. And that's it. But on this record, I have like six written already. Some songs have more than one solo. So I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden, I'm having fun playing lead guitar again. So I wanted to do that on the record. Um, so that'll be different for us. Uh, and also, just like I was saying earlier, just having a different vocalist and a different drummer, there's gonna be some, fresh sounds in that area as well.
Change in the big picture, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, you mentioned something about synths, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember if there could be one more than one song that you made use of synths before.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Cryogenic Dream World is,
Mhm.
as of now, one of my favorite songs.
Oh, thank you.
I think you include some parts of synths there, right?
I don't remember. There is clean guitar on that song. That might be what you're hearing. There's
Okay.
like clean guitar with delay and reverb and chorus, and we've done that in the past. Like at the end of Absorbing Black Ignition, there's a part where everyone's like, "Oh, the synth outro," but it's actually just guitar with an octave pedal and some delay.
I see.
So, I mean, we'll be doing tons of that on the new record, like we always do, but also we started to do more. Like Sam bought a keyboard and we used it on the last record. Like the outro to the record is like him holding a drone note, and yeah, we're gonna do more of that. But yeah, also sometimes we're gonna do synth, sometimes it'll be guitars with effects. You might not really be able to tell, but
Oh,
a lot of fun
it
stuff
will
like
be
that.
disguised,
Yeah, yeah, basically.
playing tricks on us.
Mhm.
Uh, Another question. well, this is more a comment. How
Uh,
do you learn so many riffs and
uh,
some laughs
that
there?
that's a good question because I think about that sometimes. It's like how am I remembering all this? There's so many songs. I don't know. It's just I think that if you're really into music and you're playing your whole life and learning songs your whole life, you eventually just are better at memorizing them. I'll
I see.
definitely notice sometimes like I'll go to a band practice for a band that I haven't played with in a long time and we'll start playing the songs and they'll all come back to me. It's like the muscle memory, the songs are stored in my hand somewhere. It's weird. I don't know the answer to that. I can't answer that.
Is in your subconscious.
I guess so. Yeah.
Another comment, and well, I will rephrase it because as Emilio, he's mentioning about dissonant rural death aggressiveness.
Hmm.
Um, but this is also on my own curiosity. Why do you think people, fans of bands like Artificial Brain, um, has like a wrong, I mean, what do you think is a misconception about dissonant, like dissonant death people have?
Okay, yeah, actually this is something I think about quite a bit. I sort of take issue with like the term dissonant as a genre
Right,
because to me dissonance is just part of harmony. There's like tense harmony and then there's not tense harmony and they all work together in a song. So like, you know, with Artificial Brain, there's times where we'll have riffs that are fully gross sounding and dissonant and riffs that are very pretty and not dissonant. But also in music, not just us, but all music, like over the course of one chord progression, there will be like a nice chord, a tense chord, and then a nice chord.
right.
And it just that happens in all genres of music. So I think that the more dissonant sounds just work well with metal, like distorted guitars and blast beats and growling, like it all kind of works together. But I think I would say for Artificial Brain, like a big portion of our riffs are not dissonant at all. And I think that sometimes if I play a chord like that has a lot of notes in it, that's dense, to me it might not sound dissonant, but I guess like other people could maybe hear that dense harmony and think dissonance.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. To me, dissonance, like I was saying, it's just part of harmony in general. It's just like, there's a push and pull always happening with harmony, and it's just part of it, like tension and release. Sometimes I like it when it gets very tense, but I don't like not having the release as
It's
well.
like just another tool for dynamics, right?
It's another tool. Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing, but I think for us, the fans, is a way of distinguish regular death
Yeah.
metal from, a sort of branch outside of regular death metal.
Yeah, I
Um,
understand that. And it is becoming more of its own thing. It's like
yeah.
that whole world is like taking on a life of its own, which is cool.
Um, do you yourself consume that sort of metal?
A little bit. I mean, I always loved Gorguts. I've been listening to my friend Gabriella's new album by Cosmic Putrefaction.
Oh, yeah.
I like what he did on that record. He also mixed that album, and I'm also like kind of trying to be better at mixing, so I talked to him about that a lot. When we toured Europe, we toured with that band Devoid of Thought, and they have some dissonant parts, and I really, really liked hanging out with them, and I really liked watching their set. They're a great band. Um, a lot of the music I listen to is not metal. Like I listen to a lot of classical, and there's lots of dissonant stuff happening in modern classical or like impressionist era stuff. I like soundtracks, like movie soundtracks, video game soundtracks. There's a lot of dissonance there, but there's also a lot of
Are you familiar with the band or project Coma Cluster Boy?
yes. Will from Artificial Brain did vocals for them briefly.
Oh, I see.
I'm not super familiar with their music, but I remember when he was working with them, we talked about them a bit.
I remember what that project because you mentioned modern classical being dissonant, right? And this
Yeah,
project
very.
like emerged from musicians on the field of
Mhm.
modern classical dissonant stuff. And I think it's interesting. It's interesting, but when artists from other spectrums of music, like step into this this brand, death or
Yeah.
black, whatever. Do you
Well, I
see
think,
do you see
sorry.
yourself jumping into something outside of this realm musically?
I don't know. I think that as a person who has listened to and loved metal my whole life, I feel very comfortable writing metal, and I feel like I have, big thoughts and opinions on metal. So,
Mm,
yeah, I feel comfortable writing this overarching genre of music. I don't think I'd feel as comfortable. Like for a minute, I was playing with my roommate in his D beat band, Loud Night, and it was a lot of fun to play. And I played a lot of solos and had a good time. But I don't think that I could write that genre. It would feel like inauthentic if I was
yeah,
writing it,
I
because
see.
I didn't come up with that. But when Jonah writes riffs, it feels authentic D beat, So like yeah, I'm comfortable writing in my realm. I don't know if I would try like classical composition because you need like an education, you need a background. I don't have that. And I think that other people would be like, this guy's an amateur if they heard my writing
Right.
in that style. But yeah, I think I don't know. You never know.
It's
Who
something
knows what's gonna
about
happen in
being
10 years? I don't know.
self-conscious, right? Or feeling self-conscious
Yeah,
about it.
I think so. I think so. I worry I wouldn't be taken as seriously, maybe.
Another comment here.
Hmm?
In what universe or artist do you inspire to create your atmospheres? It's about an artificial brain in particular.
Does that person mean like what has inspired artificial brain besides music? Is that what they're asking?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so.
that's hard to say because there's like when we used to play together when we were younger, we would all get together. I'm talking like we were age 21, 22 at the time. I'm 39 now. But we would all get together and have band practice, and then we would like watch movies or play video games. And the game Earthbound for Super Nintendo, we played that like during while we were writing for the first record. And
Mm,
I know it's like kind of a comedy game, but it's also very sci-fi, like kind of Twilight Zone-ish. And the feeling of that game was like with us in the early days. We also played like Fallout New Vegas together, and that's very sci-fi. There's a lot of like, comedic sci-fi references, but it's very much a part of that universe. And when me and Sam were younger, because we've known each other forever, our parents were friends.
mm.
We used to play Fallout 2 as kids, and like I didn't know anything about sci-fi back then, but we were exposed to that world at a young age. So I want to say video games are part of it, but also like I love video games, but I don't really like mixing them with metal. Like I'm not trying to use the Nintendo sound chip on our record. I'm not trying to like have video game imagery on our album cover or like video game references during the songs, like none of that. But it did inspire me. Like and it still does. Like if I'm playing a game, I'll often stop playing the game and listen to the music or something like that. Um, so yeah, that definitely we did watch a lot of movies together. Uh, I mean, The Thing, Alien, all of that, I think, kind of in the back of our mind inspires the band. But it's a very loose connection. It's not like we're not saying like we got to write a song that fits with this movie. I think it's just like stuff we like that kind of feels artificial brain-ish is
Mm.
out there.
Okay.
Um,
Well, another comment here. I think this guy has an issue with
okay,
your
oh, hell
the
yeah.
pro- the production of your last records.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Well, decisions.
Yeah, well, what does he have to say?
Well, that it sounds bad, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't think that sounds bad. I think it sounds good. One thing that we will never ever do, and we talk about this all the time, is we're never gonna have like industry standard production. Like
Yeah.
I I hate that sound. Like I'll turn on a record and when I hear like the fake quantized drums that are very like sample sounding. Like I just turn it off. I can't listen to that shit. And none of us like that. So like I would much rather have a record that sounds real than hi-fi, you know. Also, like most of my favorite records don't have a hi-fi sound, you know, like none of us are into that. So we're not going to like go for the same sound every record. I want every record to sound different, but it will never be like super clicky bass drum, like loud as fuck guitars, like vocals way up front in the mix. Like I don't like any of that shit. I hate that stuff. So we're not going to do that. But I understand. I don't know, people are picky about their production, and some people just want to hear what they think metal is supposed to sound like. And I very much want to challenge that idea because that's one of the things that I hate the most about modern metal is the the production that everyone has nowadays. I
It's
just don't like it.
it's very standardized, right?
Yeah, very standardized. A lot of records have like the sound, and
Yeah.
that's it. And I don't like it. I don't like the way it sounds. I mean, when I turn on like South of Heaven or Rain and Blood, like the bass drum on those albums is not clicky at all. Like it's actually quite a bit muffled, but the production, like the mix sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I miss when records sounded like that. Or, I mean, you know, it's not like I want every record to sound like that, but there was more variety back then. Nowadays, it's
Mm.
very like people want the industry standard production, and that's that. And I'm not into that.
Now that
So
we're talking
sorry,
about
dude.
that, well, I do agree with that, and I remember that the production of the last record, I remember details about the snare sound that
Yeah, there's two snares on it.
exactly it changed
Yeah.
from one song to another, and I was like, whoa, how
Yeah, yeah.
did these guys dare to do this? You know?
Yeah, we didn't know Keith was going to do that. He told us he had a surprise for us. And then it was the pingy snare. We all went nuts.
It sounds so raw, but like
Yeah.
very fucking raw,
Yeah.
and like it makes a more it enhances the contrast. You
Mm,
know, we're talking about emotions and colors and etc.
mm.
When you go on the left, on the right, so much far, on the left, so much far. You know, like I don't know if this makes sense to you what I'm saying. You know, but like the it's more white. I don't know.
Oh, you mean like we're going from one sound to a distinctly different sound, and it feels like you can feel the contrast.
Yeah, you create more room for the contrast.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. Well, like I was saying earlier, like about modern production, it's very monotonous. Like people
Yeah,
will use the same snare sample with the same velocity the whole record, and it's like I don't want to. You know, I want to hear the way the drummer plays the snare. Really, I feel like a lot of kids nowadays they hear records and they think that's what metal is supposed to sound like. But like, if you've ever been in the room with a drummer playing the drums, it sounds very different from what albums often sound like.
yeah.
And that's what I want to hear from a band.
I
It's the
actually
real drummer.
what I like about the yeah what are about what your things that you're mentioning is
Mm,
that the experience of listening to a record and imagine myself than being in front of them
mm-hmm.
in the same room, like that sort of feeling is what I like about in a
Yeah,
production.
I also like that.
Okay, another comment.
Mhm.
Uh, this guy is saying that your album covers remind him about Metal Slug, the video
Oh,
game.
Metal Slug. That's funny. That's coincidental. We didn't talk about that, but that's funny.
Any plans to come to Latin America?
Oh, I would love to.
Have you been invited before?
No, not with
Oh,
Artificial Brain. Yeah, that would be really awesome. We haven't hit the UK yet. We haven't hit Asia yet. We haven't hit Central or South America or even Mexico. We've played Canada a bit. We will go to Europe next year. Um, so we want to tour a bit. I would love to come to Latin America. for sure.
Nice.
We all would.
Well, we would like to see Artificial and your bands live here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, another comment about tour. Juan is asking for science fiction novels that you may recommend on the thinking about artificial brain.
Yeah, I'm not the guy to ask. That's a question for Sam and Mike. They
Okay,
are much more well-read than I am.
that's fair.
Um, but yeah, that is something that those guys talk about a lot, especially now when Mike is thinking about possible concepts for the next record. They've been talking about like novels and movies that we should sit down and watch together and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a question for Mike and Sam.
This is a good question. He's saying that now you have the best vocalist in the world,
Yeah, I
and
mean, I love Mike's voice. He can do anything.
yeah, that we can. What can we expect now that you have the best vocalist in the world?
Well, thank you. Um, it's just gonna be different. I mean, Will had his sound and it's very unique. So it won't sound like that. Like I don't want to have I don't want to like sit down with Mike and be like, okay, you got to do your best Will impression. Like that's whack. I want him to explore the sound that he wants to explore. But I suppose like variety is gonna be a thing. I mean, not that Will didn't have variety in his sound, it's just gonna be different. You know, one thing we talked about very briefly, this isn't something we're necessarily planning on doing, but we talked about it for a sec, was like the way on Cynic's album Focus, they have like kind of a robot voice happening sometimes.
Hmm.
We wouldn't do it like that, but that's kind of a cool idea to like see if we could try for like a vocoder thing. I don't know. We might not do it, but we might try. Who knows? But yeah,
And
definitely we're going to be experimenting with vocals a lot. Oh, also last record we didn't Sam and I did not do backing vocals on the last record, but we'll do that again.
oh, I see.
We did on the
Um,
first two.
do you agree that the new Inter Arma record is one of the best of the years?
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of my favorites that they've ever done for sure. Their past two have been my favorite of theirs. And TJ is a very good writer. I actually saw him recently. He's a drummer, but he also is a songwriter, and a lot of people don't realize that he's also a really great guitar player.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, now that he's mentioned here, um, I asked him about evolving your sound, and this
Hmm.
applies to for Artificial Brain or even Dreamless Veil, if there's a future
Hmm.
record.
Hmm.
About evolving in what it is essentially an ugly aesthetic. You know, how do you keep
Yes.
expanding on that, like,
Uh,
but on your own merit?
yeah, I mean TJ has a different approach than I do, but I definitely I see what he's doing and I love what he does. But yeah, the ugly aesthetic. I think that there's a lot to explore there. And I think that's one of the things that's exciting about this style of metal is that, yeah, people are doing it a lot now, and it could possibly become more trendy, which would kind of annoy me, but like it feels like it's an exciting time in metal and more is allowed. Like there are a lot of bands right now that are popular that I mean, I'm not going to name names, but they feel kind of like playing a style of death metal that already happened.
Yeah,
Like I'm less into that, but I understand that that has to exist. There's a lot of people who, might not know the old stuff as well as I do because I'm older. But I'm having a lot of fun kind of like you said developing an ugly aesthetic. Although I think that with Artificial Brain, if there's an ugly riff, I want there to be a shift into a pretty riff, or sometimes have them together in the same riff, which I think is something that the band Deathspell Omega does very well. They'll have a riff that's like simultaneously ugly, but also very melodic and beautiful. So I don't know. That's a tough thing to pull off, but I'm always trying to pull that off. Uh,
okay, so you make like a conscious effort or actively
yeah,
surfed on that path.
yeah. And sometimes something I'll try to do is if I'm writing a riff that's like kind of more on the catchy side and less on the like harmonically challenging or upsetting side. Like I do like to have like how should I say this? Sometimes when you play the piano, you can play two notes that are very close to one another very easily. But on guitar, because of the nature of the instrument, it can be tough to cram a lot of close together notes in there, but it's a cool sound when you can pull it off. So I'm always trying to do that. I think that there's a lot of piano chords or piano chord voicings that don't happen as often on guitar that I like to explore or experiment with. Um,
Have you tried,
yeah,
or
I'm
would you
sorry.
be open to try microtonal riffs or music?
A little
Sure.
bit. I mean, I want to have a fretless guitar. That would be cool. I think that we do like a minimal amount of that stuff. Something I'll do in the microtonal world, and this is something that I've heard other bands do as well, is like I'll strum a chord and bend one of those notes very slightly, like not a whole step, not a half step, even less than that. But I find that it's something that you notice. I mean, it kind of makes the chord uglier and more nerve-wracking to hear. And that I think that's something that's part of this band's sound. I do in other bands do that as well, but I think it's just part of Artificial Brain sound, like bending notes. We do a lot of that,
Mm,
even in chords.
mm.
Sometimes we'll bend the whole chord.
Okay. Still on the topic of ugly aesthetics,
Hmm.
and uh, I will say dissonant, even though you don't you have an issue with that. But
No, it's okay.
yeah, I know. Um, Me as an audience of this type of music, what I have come to expect every time I see a new name, a new band,
Mhm.
a new record of that kind of band is uh how will they or will they develop the ugly aesthetic, right?
Mhm.
And how it because usually it's like it's ugly and there's nothing more to it
Mhm.
unless a band dares to do something different, right?
Yeah, I've definitely heard dissonant death metal records or dissonant black metal records that kind of stay the same level of dissonant the whole time.
Right.
And that's fine. Like, whatever. Every band is different. Every band seeks to accomplish something different. But for me, I like to hear more contrast. And I think that's one of the advantages of having so many dissonant riffs is that there's so much more contrast when you play something more traditional. Like if Artificial Brain had a Slayer riff on our next album, it would stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't, but maybe I'll try to write one. I don't know.
I see your point.
uh, but yeah, it's like you were saying earlier. It's like another color to use in your palette.
Yeah.
And I like albums that are a little more colorful,
May I
generally.
may I suggest you a few names that
Sure.
I think you will like?
Yeah,
One
of course.
from this year is Defacement. Maybe you have heard
Oh,
the new
Defacement.
record.
Yeah. From Italy.
Yeah, from Italy.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I think
Claudio
I th
from Deep Void of Thought is playing in Defacement right
oh
now.
I think
Yeah.
it was also produced by Gabriel.
Gabriella, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, they're a great band.
Um, there's a new band from Finland in the Transcendental Security, The Venial Verdict.
Oh, I haven't heard them.
The new record, imagine Dissonant Death as a whole, but
Mhm.
like doomy and
Oh, cool.
very synth oriented. It's
Uh-huh.
sounds fresh. You
What
may
is
like it.
their name? What is
Uh,
their name?
yeah, let me send in the chat. The Venial
Okay.
Verdict.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
And
cool.
new maybe you have heard of this. They are from Slovenia.
Oh,
Siderean.
Sojourner, yes. We played a show with them last year. I was very sick when we played that show. I don't know what I had, some virus, so I couldn't really hang out or talk, but we played with them last year and then we played with them also the year before. Great band.
Nice.
Yeah, good
But
guys.
you haven't heard the new record,
I haven't heard the newest one.
dude.
No.
Uh, uh, this is my how I appreciate the new record. I think that metal hasn't sound as expressive uh, as that record. I mean, death metal, in the aesthetic of being ugly and
Uh-huh.
raw, and brutal. I think no other band has that approach that they had in this record. I mean, it's quite a big leap from the previous record to this
Oh,
one.
cool. Cool.
So
Yeah, I'm excited to listen to it. Maybe I'll listen to it today.
yeah, yeah, please. And Gaigan, I don't know if you are excited about the
Oh,
new record.
okay. I was not on this tour, but the first tour that Artificial Brain ever did was with Gigan and Piron.
Okay, I see. By the way, is it Gaigan, Gigan? How is the correct pronunciation?
I think it's Gigan.
Okay, let's go with Gaigan.
Yeah, it's named after the Godzilla monster.
Okay. And Piron, is it Piron? I always mention Pyron. I don't know why.
Yeah, I always said Piron. I think
Okay.
Doug says Piron. Yeah,
Oh,
Piron.
the new Piron record is
Oh
also
yeah.
massive.
I want to get the physical copy before I listen to it.
Nice,
I gotta
nice.
buy it from them. But yeah, those guys are our longtime friends, and we're always talking about doing a split with them. It hasn't happened yet, but I want it to happen. That would be
Um,
cool.
you as a fan of music, what are like those two or three bands currently that you feel or think that are the most innovative or most ahead of the game?
Well, I mean, as I would always say Abigor. I mean,
Oh,
I don't know if they're going to continue because their guitarist passed away, but I mean, I'm very inspired by the way they write. It can be over the top at times, it can be corny at times for sure, but I mean, overall, I really like what they do. I love their production. I love the songs. Another band that I really love right now is Gork from Italy. I don't know if you know them. I'll type it in. Gorrch on.
I don't think so. Let me see the name.
Yeah, Gork.
Gorge.
And
Okay, I
now
don't know them.
I believe they were maybe on tour with Defacement. I could have sworn I saw a flyer for the two of those bands. Maybe I'm wrong, but they are a really, really cool band. They're from Italy. It's like black metal, but experimental. Definitely worth checking out. Other bands.
Let's talk about Italy and their bands.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like we fit in very well when we play there. There's a lot of fans of our genre of metal. The guys from Ad Nauseam came to a
Out
show,
Nauseam. Oof.
yeah, last year, and it was really nice to meet those dudes. I would love to play shows with them in the future. Um, that's another band that I think more people should listen to because it's very like experimental and technical and over the top, but it's also very unique. It's very musical. It's not like sometimes bands with good musicians sound like they're trying to showcase their musicianship, and
Right.
that's like at the forefront of it all. And I don't think they do that. I think that the songs hold up on their own. Insane they may be, it's still like the songs are the centerpiece of the band, not the playing. And that's something I think is cool about death metal nowadays. I think technical bands are still out there, but there's definitely a scene for bands that don't want to be technical. I
Yeah.
like that.
Are you still into Dead Spell Omega?
Oh yeah, I mean I haven't kept up with them. I
Oh, I
haven't
see.
heard their last record, but I mean, yeah, I still like the band. I mean, they definitely inspired me. The first time I heard Paracletus and Foss and Chaining the Catachan, it like changed the way I played guitar forever.
Nice. So Abigor and Gork is.
Gork, yeah.
I will have to check that out. That
Yeah,
out.
Gork is great. You should definitely check them out. Oh, another band. I think it's the drummer of Gork, Lorn, Lorn. The
Okay.
album is called Arrayed Claws, and it's sick. Definitely worth checking out. Also, experimental black metal, also from Italy. Uh, yeah, I don't know what's going on in Italy, but I like what they're doing.
And what about Icelandic black metal bands?
Oh
Are you
yeah,
into
yeah.
them?
I'm a big fan of Miss Thurming, and I don't know how to pronounce that band. Miss
Me
Thurming
neither.
and Svarta Dowdy I like a lot. Um I saw many years ago, maybe like 5 years ago now, Sinmara came to our
Mhm.
city and we saw them play with Suffering Hour, and that was a great show. Uh, I think the band Andevald is from Iceland, and I really like them. Um, or at least the one album that I heard. Yeah, I would say I'm definitely inspired by the Icelandic stuff. It kind of reminds me a bit of French black metal, but a little more tough.
Yeah, definitely.
And that first Miss Therming album I still listen to all the time in my car. I love it.
There's a new Icelandic band, Fresh. I mean, it has been playing shows for the last couple of years, but
Mhm,
until recently they released the first video and song single.
mhm, mhm.
It's called Mur or Mar. I don't know how it will be pronounced, but let me type
Yeah,
the name of the
please,
song.
please.
Okay. Imagine Cult of Luna. I don't know if you like Cult of Luna.
Yeah, yeah.
With a bit of Soulstafir and a bit
Cool.
of cinematic atmospheres, like maybe something out of a movie of Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I have not heard of that, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, I think you will love them. Another band from
Thank
last
you.
year is called Sol and Barma. It's like a project for musicians of Ming and the big names in
Oh,
Iceland, and they
cool, cool.
create this project for play a show in Broadburn. You
Oh,
know
cool.
what Broadburn does, that's their
Yeah,
practice.
yeah, Roadburn's like a little different scene, but Inter Arma played there, and my friend Scott and Zell from Anticar Siege Machine played there, and he said it was awesome. We haven't played Roadburn yet, but I would love to.
You definitely fit in that
Yeah,
spectrum. You-
yeah, I think so.
or have you attended a show, a show there?
No, I haven't seen Roadburn yet. It's far.
Yeah.
I don't really get overseas too often.
And new records from Panzerfaust from Canada.
Oh, Panzerfaust is a band that I couldn't really get too into.
Oh, I
Something
see.
about their sound. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of didn't do it for me. But I'll try a new one.
And
You never know.
Santifact.
That Pentafax, yeah, that's a band I've been a fan of for a long time.
Nice, nice.
They also played Richmond last year, and I saw them. It was great.
Okay. Well, one of my final questions, not that is the last one, but
Hmm.
talking about Dreamless Veil.
Hmm.
So you have in your head these lyrics that we didn't get to read or to hear on the record,
Uh,
like the first iterations of
yeah,
Dreamless Veil.
I
However,
remember. Yeah,
oh,
sorry,
okay,
go
yeah, please
go
go ahead.
on. Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I was trying to write this one song, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be about like a wizard who like summons a demon, but it's too strong, it kills him. And I was like trying to write it, and I was like, this is so stupid. I can't put this out. It was fun. I was having a good time, but like I was like, nah, this is like teenager shit. I can't put this.
Okay. You mentioned this other band that you will release something this year or the next year, the sort of grind band.
Ortolan,
So yeah.
yeah, so Ortolan has a different lineup. It's my friend Andy on vocals, Oleg from Artificial Brain on guitar, and the drummer is my friend Jeremy, who we used to play together when we were like teenagers, and he plays in the band Zoth now. They're like a weird technical thrash band kind of. Um, but yeah, he's been playing drums in that project. So as soon as he records the next album, we're gonna track it because the songs have been long written now.
Oh,
It is different from Dreamless Veil, but it's also black metal. Um, so yeah, hopefully next year that'll be done. And I
okay.
do have a lot of material written for Dreamless Veil. I don't know if Relapse is going to be interested again, but we could make another record. I would love to.
And the relationship with Relapse came
Yep.
from Mike Paparo or
Well, when I was in Revocation, we were signed to Relapse, so I know some people there. I don't really like have any like close connections there, but Mike has some friends there. And actually, the way we got signed to Relapse was we just sent a record to one of those guys, and we're like, "Hey, do you know anybody who would want to put this out?" Not thinking of Relapse, and he responded saying that they would put it out, which was a surprise to us. We didn't expect that.
great. That's great. Okay, I was my previous question was about in your head if you could picture um like what it is Dreamless Veil with this record in your mind? In a movie, a book, a painting, or you already mentioned a video game for Artificial Brain, for example. But in
Mhm.
this case, for this record, which one would it be and why?
If it was another art form, you mean?
Yeah.
Man, that's a good question. I don't know if I've ever thought about it like that. Yeah, when I was writing the music, my head was full of riffs, and when I tried to think of like the artwork or the lyrics, like I was having trouble coming up with anything in that realm. So I think just the way my brain works, I can't like I'm very like music focused, and I can't think of the other things like with artificial brain. I trust Sam very much when it comes to like image stuff,
Hmm.
because like I'm very checked out of that realm. I don't really like, my mind isn't going there. I kind of can only I do what I'm focused on, and then outside of that, I'm like the worst guy to ask. Like I don't know shit about music business. Like when labels email me, I'm like, I don't know what to say to these people, you know. But I kind of like take care of the writing, and I'm like very serious about it. But it's tough for me to think about like like I said, like the image surrounding the music. Like when I'm writing the riffs, I was thinking of like blue and yellow and black a
Oh, I
lot.
see. So you're seeing colors,
I
like
guess,
the
I guess.
synesthesia thing.
Yeah, like I remember when we got the artwork for the album. I thought it's awesome artwork. But I remember seeing black and white and gold and being like, oh man, I was imagining blue.
Oh,
Uh, but not that that matters. It was just in my head when I was writing, The art is awesome as it is.
and the for example, artificial brain. Do you agree with the color palette of your artworks?
Yeah,
Do you
actually
feel
that's
something
something
similar?
that Sam was in touch with Adam Burke about that. They discussed color palette. So that's like and Sam had like screenshots from movies and like vague ideas of like what type of album cover it would be, but Adam Burke handled all the art. Like we didn't really like say no, not like that, do it different. It wasn't like that. We were just like, hey,
Hmm.
here we're thinking like kind of this aesthetic, and he ran with it
Yeah,
because
because
we trust
the
the artist more than
the
ourselves.
the atmosphere is sort of neutral in terms of colors in
Yeah.
the first two artworks,
Mhm.
and then came the third one, and then there we see colors, there we
Yeah.
see.
And I wonder if that affects how people hear the record.
Oh,
When
well,
I was younger, I would always think of the colors from the album cover when I heard the record, when I was listening to it.
maybe it guides us, but
Maybe
it's only
subconscious.
if for example, you are consciously trying to show any particular type of colors or scheme of colors, right? And
Mhm.
and in this case, did you discuss colors with the artist, or is was also
Um,
consequential?
I didn't. Sam did. Yeah, they discussed colors.
Oh, I see.
On
Okay.
this,
Yeah.
sorry. I was gonna say on the new record, I'm hearing a lot of green and yellow. I don't know if that conveys any actual information to you, but that's what
Uh,
I'm hearing. Green, yellow, red, all that. I think on the
yeah.
next album cover, we're talking about not doing a painting, like maybe some photo manipulation. I don't know.
Oh,
Not necessarily that, but I think that even though I love the art that Paulo Girardi did and I love the art that Adam Burke did, I feel like a lot of bands are going the oil painting route, and I just want to get away from what other bands are doing. I'm like
hmm.
seeing a lot of hardcore bands using paintings now, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, we gotta get out of here. This isn't cool anymore.
Yeah. That's an good way of thinking, because it is makes you step out of your comfort zone in any scenario. Uh,
Yeah, and I don't want to like neatly fit into any genre. I want to be our own thing.
and we can hope that artificial brain is even more inclined into not fit any standard.
Yeah, we all agree on that.
Nice. On the topic of becoming a better musician, we have discussed how you may have your own tricks with it,
Mm-hmm.
but in your own instrument, in your own style of playing, how would you define becoming better? Like, for example, we discussed this conversation with the drummer for Interarma, is JC?
TJ.
TJ, yeah, sorry.
Mhm.
He, for example, one thing he does is play drums without punching the snare, no?
Mhm.
So that create one of the songs of the recording, which he plays all of the parts of the drums, but never hitting the snare,
But
right?
not the snare. Yeah, that's cool.
And that was one of his tricks for you.
That's a cool trick. We talked about the bending thing that I do a lot. That's something I like to do. Earlier we were talking about having notes very close to one another. That's something I like to do a lot. One thing that's like key to our sound is the guitar. Sorry, the dog's going crazy.
Yeah.
The guitars on the left side and the right side are always playing something different. That's something I learned from Emperor and Abigor. Just writing two parts that, like, sometimes I'll play a power chord on one side, and then Oleg or John will be playing like an octave or thirds or like some other harmony, and then together it makes one big chord. So that's something that we do a lot. But also, when you were asking the question, it's really hard to answer because like the the closer I get with guitar, like the more into guitar I get, the less I know what like how do you quantify a good guitar player? Like
Right.
because like I'll hear dudes who shred and are way better than me at playing, arpeggios and chords and whatever, shredding. They're faster than me. They got licks for days. But like if they can't write anything, what's the point? You know what I mean? So like I really don't know. And also, the more into music I get and the more passionate I become about writing, I feel like I'm having trouble connecting with like what the average person wants to hear. I don't know
Mm,
what I
mm,
don't understand why a normal person likes music because I like weird guitar shit.
yeah.
So I'm becoming like increasingly uh ideologically isolated as a musician. But I don't know. I think one of the things that I noticed about myself as a musician as time went on is that when I listen to music, I can learn it much faster and like much more accurately. Uh, and that's just because I do it all the time. Like I'll be, like I said earlier, I'll be listening to music. I'll hear something cool. I'll have to like rewind it and learn it on guitar, and I'll learn the melody and also the chords. And I think that just doing that a lot, it helps me. It's like an ear training exercise. It helps me
Mm.
hear music better. It helps me learn music faster. And that I think seeps into my writing. The more stuff I learn, the bigger my vocabulary is. And when I write my own stuff, it's more varied.
When you were talking about the shred thing,
Mhm.
that's sort of a standard metric. I mean, I guess for a guitarist in this case.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
and what I'm more intrigued about listening to a new band or following a band over the course of several records is how they may shift the curve of natural evolution, or logical
Hmm.
evolution of their sound.
Yeah.
And for example, let's talk about Blood Incantation. They
Hmm.
made an EP, an ambient EP, and they were
Yeah.
heavily criticized by that. But I
Yeah.
think patience is a virtue. We sometimes just have to wait and let the
Yeah.
musician work his own thing,
I feel the same way. Like when people got upset about them doing that, that was so stupid to me. Like, who cares? They
right?
can do whatever they want. Like if I wanted to make a pop punk record, I could do that. I don't want to, but if I did, like who gives a shit?
But
I don't know.
but in terms of seeing the artistry of, because I mean, yes, it's a job, you have to be a musician, but it's also an art form, at least,
Yeah.
or at least I
Yeah.
appreciate it as that. And now
Yeah.
with the new record, I think we as a listener can receive the reward of the band experimenting with its own
Yeah.
stuff.
Right, because I'm hearing them kind of apply that to their death metal sound more. And that's Cool. I like that they did that. I like that they're evolving. Like, if there's one thing I don't want to do, it's put out the same record over and over. And I love when bands don't do that. Like Blood Incantation, you can hear their artistic trajectory, and
Yeah.
I hope for the same thing in Artificial Brain.
Oh well, I that's my main wish for artificial brain. Um, another example is Oranssi Pazuzu from
Mhm.
Finland. They
Yep.
are, I don't know if you're are familiar with the discography, but they started in like a more raw psychedelic black
Right.
metal type of sound, and then now they branch out into crowd rock, you know?
Yeah, I'm
And
much more familiar with their newer stuff.
okay, that's perfect.
Mm.
My example is how they um um actively insert a new alien stuff into their vocabulary, you know,
Hmm.
and in this way, you sort of force your creative muscle to work with new stuff, right? Like,
Hmm.
let's say, for example, you have to walk with a stone in your shoes, right? This would influence the way you talk, the way you walk, right?
Yeah.
If
Yes, it would.
so, if you insert something outside of the way you usually play or compose your music,
Hmm.
it will definitely create a new ability or a new way to perceive your own stuff, right?
Yeah, actually, you saying that makes me think of the way I wrote Dreamless Veil, because when I started writing that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something I don't normally do, which is like I don't want to overthink anything. Like I want to write fast, and like if I found that I was like trying really hard to make a riff work, I would stop and just start over from scratch. Because if it didn't come together fast, I was like, that's not part of this project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I only kept the songs that came together very quick. And I liked doing that. It was a lot of fun, and it wasn't my usual style. So that kind of it made it exciting to write for.
And in a way, this could inform the future of your writing.
I'm sorry.
In a way, this could influence or inform your future writing, this
Yeah,
practice.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing that more lately for sure. With Artificial Brain, though, I will allow myself to spend time and rework things.
Okay.
I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to like force it, but like I think with that band, there's more room for doing like complicated things. I think with my other projects, I'm trying to be a little less complicated.
Mm. Yeah, because you can only do so much, right?
Yeah, it's more fun to just do something else.
Well, the new Orange Pazuzu record will come out next Friday.
Mhm.
If you have time or you are have interest in that record or that band, I heavily suggest you to play that record because it's awesome.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I'll
As
check it out.
from a black metal to another black metal fan, I think you will
Mhm.
enjoy it.
Cool, cool. Awesome.
Well, Dan, thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank
Um,
you so much.
I have a good time talking with you.
Mhm.
Hopefully, when the time comes to discuss, record of Artificial Brain or another of your projects, we can sit down again and discuss. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to.
If you have anything last to say to the audience that or anyone that is watching this, please.
Well, I guess there's more coming, so just wait.
Nice.
Um, whether or not we make another Dreamless Veil album, I'll still do other stuff. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I want to make another one. I would love that. But if we don't, like, there will be other projects. And I'm always going to be doing many bands. Right now, I'm playing in a band called Spite. I don't write for the band. It's a one-man project, but he has a live lineup. The black metal Spite, not to be confused with the deathcore Spite. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like always playing in bands with other people, and I'm always busy with music, and I don't think that's ever going to change. So there will be more music for sure.
Well, thank you. And sorry if this conversation was more focused into artificial
Oh,
brain.
that's okay. All these things are related.
Yeah. Well, hope you have a good weekend. And by the way, what's the name of your dog?
Oh,
I'm
that's Jax.
curious.
He's good. He looks scary, but he's actually really nice.
No, no, yeah, yeah. Is it Jax?
Jax, yeah, Jackson.
Oh, Jackson. Hey,
Yeah. He's a
he's a
good
good
guy.
puppy. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
I have two puppies. I rescued like recently.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
one is called is a boy Morty,
Morty.
but from the Devil Morty records reference.
Oh, MORTI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the other one is a girl. Is a she. Maya for like
Oh,
Mayan. You know.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
I
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
dogs.
Me too. Big fan.
Well, see you in the future. Bye bye.
Yeah, dude. It was